Hello everyone, and welcome to your math lesson for today. Today we are going to be working on Topic 6, Lesson 4, Continue to Interpret Data. Our learning intention is I can use a picture graph to interpret data. Let's get started. Our Solve and Share begins on page 265 in our Envisions Volume 1 workbook. Our Solve and Share says, at the park, Susan sees 13 animals in all. 9 are birds. The rest are rabbits. How can Susan complete the table to show this? Show your work. Now, we can solve this problem a few different ways. I think the way that I'm going to solve it is by first looking at our question again. It told us that Susan sees 13 animals in all. So our total number of animals that Susan saw was 13. It tells us that 9 of those animals were birds and the rest were rabbits. So we know that 9 of them were birds, so we can double check in our chart. We see there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and the rest are rabbits. So we have 9, and we need to get to 13. So what we can do is just count on from 9 to 13. So from 9, we'll come to rabbits, since we know the rest are rabbits, and we could say 10, 11, 12, 13. If 9 of the animals were birds, that means that the other 4 were rabbits. 9 plus 4 would give us 13. If you solve a different way to find the number of rabbits, that is okay too, as long as you get the same answer that 4 of those animals were rabbits. Now let's watch our animated video to help us follow along the top of our workbook page 266.
How can you use a tally chart to help you solve a story problem? Think about this question during the lesson. Abby asked 12 students if they like broccoli or carrots better. 5 choose broccoli. The rest choose carrots. How many chose carrots? What are you asked to find?
Select your answer.
In our question, where we asked to find how many students chose broccoli, chose carrots, or the total number of students, we were asked how many students chose carrots.
You need to find how many students chose carrots. What do you already know? You know Abby asked 12 students if they like broccoli or carrots better. You also know that 5 students chose broccoli. Use a tally chart to find the missing data. How does the tally chart help you? It shows how many students chose broccoli. 5 chose broccoli. What could you do to find out how many students chose carrots? You can count up from 5 to 12 because you know Abby asked 12 students. Make one tally mark for every number that you count after 5. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. How many more students chose carrots than broccoli? You can make a picture graph or write an equation to compare. 7 minus 5 equals Draw one broccoli for each tick mark. Draw one carrot for each tick mark. How does the picture graph help you compare how many more or fewer students chose carrots than broccoli?
When we look at the picture graph, we can see that there are 2 more carrots. So when asking how many more or fewer students chose carrots than broccoli, we can subtract the total number of carrots and the total number of broccoli to get our answer of 2.
I can see that 2 more students like carrots. Now you know how to use a tally chart, picture graph, and equation to solve a problem.
Great job!
Now, let's look at our guided practice together on page 266. Our directions tell us to draw the missing symbols in the picture graph, then use the graph to solve the problem. Our picture graph says favorite fruit. It has apples and oranges as the categories. It says Jim asks 9 members of his family for their favorite fruit. 6 people say they like oranges. The rest say they like apples. How many people say they like apples? What we could do to solve for how many people say they like apples is look back at our problem. It tells us that Jim asks 9 of his family members their favorite fruit, and 6 of them say they like oranges. We could take that total number of the family members that Jim asks, subtract how many we know say they like oranges, and then get our answer. In our picture graph, we can see the 6 family members who chose orange. And after we subtract 9 minus 6, we get the answer of 3. So then we would fill in the 3 apple spots in our picture graph. They don't have to be perfect either. So how many people say they like apples? 3 people. For your independent practice on the next page, 267, it wants you to use the graphs to answer the questions. Then fill in the missing data. For number 2, it says, a shelf at a store holds 11 stuffed animals. There are 5 stuffed bears and the rest are stuffed penguins. How many stuffed penguins are on the shelf? To begin working with these problems, you need to see how many total stuffed animals there were. It says there are 11 stuffed animals, that 5 are stuffed bears, and the rest are stuffed penguins. So in your picture graph, we see the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 stuffed bears, but there are 11 stuffed animals total. So how many of those stuffed animals are penguins? To find your answer for penguins, you can solve 2 ways. You can take the total number of stuffed animals and subtract the number of bears. Or you can take the number that you know are stuffed bears and see what number would you need to add to it to get 11. So you can use the two different methods to solve. You will get the same answer either way. You will write your answer here in the blank, but make sure that you fill in the penguins in the picture graph. You do not have to draw a small penguin. You can also use X's, you can use circles, or whichever symbol you would like to use. You may need to pause the video so that you can continue to work on each of these problems. We are going to begin talking about problem number 3, so if you are still working on problem number 2, just go ahead and pause the video now. For problem number 3, it says Zach plays 17 games in a season. 9 of the games are soccer games, and the rest are baseball. How many baseball games does Zach play in one season? So let's go back and look at the information that we do know. We know that Zach plays a total of 17 games. 9 of those games are soccer. So just like how we solved in number 2, there were 2 different ways. You could solve by subtracting or by adding. For number 3, we know that 9 of these games were soccer, but we need to know how many of them were baseball. There are 17 games total. So you can choose what you would like to do. Would you like to use addition or subtraction to solve? And I don't have a lot of workspace on my screen, but I can show it here. So if you would like, you could subtract and say, I know there are 17 games total. 9 of them are soccer. And find your answer here. And your answer would be how many baseball games there were. Or you could use addition and say, I know 9 of them were soccer games. So what number would I add to 9 to give me 17? So you could solve using either way. You could subtract or add. Once you find your answer, write it here in the blank, and then fill in your picture chart to show that many baseballs. So you can use subtraction or addition, and these numbers will be in the same fact family, so you will get the same answer either way. Write your answer in the blank, and then fill in your picture graph. If you are still working on number 3, now's a good time to pause the video. For number 4, it says Jen's class makes a graph about 2 of their favorite kinds of movies. How many students took the survey? Blank students. For number 4, it wants you to add the total number of students that took this survey. So you will need to add together the students who voted for funny and the students who voted for scary all together and write your answer in the blank. Remember that when you're counting the tally marks, you count 1, 2, 3, 4, and your 5th tally mark goes diagonal across. For for the last part of our math lesson for today, we are working on page 268. Our directions tell us to use the graphs and charts to answer the question. Fill in the missing data. Just like before, you will need to pause the videos as you are working through the video. Let's begin with number 5. Number 5 says reasoning. Jamie makes a weather graph. He forgets to record 3 sunny days. Were there more sunny or cloudy days? When we look at our picture graph here, we see it says weather, then there is a category for sunny and cloudy days. It's important to remember that Jamie forgot to record 3 sunny days. So that means in this graph, there are actually 1, 2, 3 more days filled in. So which were there more of? Sunny days or cloudy days? Write your answer in the blank here. The words sunny and cloudy are here so that you can see how they are spelled. Write which day there was more of. Number 6 says higher order thinking. Ryan asks 20 students which subject is their favorite. He did not record responses for the students that chose science. Draw the missing tally marks. Explain how you know you drew the right number. So just like we've done before, let's look back at our problem. We know that Ryan asks 20 students. He did not record responses for students who chose science. So what we need to do for number 6 is you will need to count up all of the tally totals for reading, math, and social studies. You can show your work here down below. So add together reading, math, and social studies tallies. Once you find that number, you can either subtract our total number of 20 minus the total number you got when you added together the tallies, and that would be your answer for science. Or you could take the total number of tallies that you counted and see what number would you need to add to it to get 20. So just like we've done before in our previous problems, add together your total number of tallies and then either subtract it from 20 or write the number here and see what plus another number would equal 20. But the first thing you need to do before you can work with any of this down here is find out your total number of tallies. And for number 7, the last problem, it says assessment practice. Daisy asks 9 students if they like cats or dogs better. 4 choose cats. The rest choose dogs. How many chose dogs? Help Daisy finish her graph. A very important word here is finish. The graph is not finished. Daisy asked 9 students total. 4 of them chose cats. Here we can see 1, 2, 3, 4 of the students who chose cats. The rest of the students chose dogs. We see that there are 1, 2, 3 dogs. 9 students voted in total. Here we can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 students have voted so far. If we need to get from 7 to a total of 9, how many dogs are we missing? If we have 7 votes and we need to get to a total of 9, that means 2 dogs are missing. So in your picture graph, you can draw your 2 dogs. And I'm not very good at drawing, so I'm just going to draw a little tiny stick dog here. Okay? So now that the graph is finished, we have to answer the question. How many chose dogs? So count how many students chose dog in all, and write your answer in the blank below. Once you have finished answering to number 7, you are all done with your math lesson for today. Tomorrow, we will be completing our last lesson in Topic 6 and begin our review to take our test. If you have any questions about your assignment or anything that we've learned in Topic 6 so far, please let me know, and I'll see you later.